Hey, everybody, come on in, come on in. So we have a very special guest tonight. It's Courtney Geels, man. She's running for District 4 U.S. House. How are you, Courtney?
I'm doing great, Sloan. Thank you so much for having me on tonight.
I mean, I see you everywhere. We met over a year ago, and I literally, wherever I go, there's Courtney.
I'm working really, really hard. I built a great team around me, but I have worked day in, day out for about a year now. So it's showing, it's paying off. I have a lot of people helping me now. It's making it where I have an event and I just show up, thankfully, at this point, but it's taken a long time to get there. So I appreciate all the help that I've gotten.
So, Courtney, the first time I met you, first and second time, maybe even the third, you were at parental rights events. You were with us at one of the school board meetings. You had been side by side with parents all over your district. Tell us why you are running. What made you decide to jump in this race?
Yeah, well, I think that all of the education issues that you talk about all the time are what's really keeping me running, because it's a lot of stuff that I didn't know. I actually met one of the moms on the side of the road. They were holding a Mark Robinson sign up on the side of the road in Hillsborough when I was first running, and I made my husband pull over on the side of the road. I was like, wait, I need to talk to them. So that's actually how I got connected with the real, parents' choice and parents' voices in education really movement. But that was, right at the beginning of running. I was trying to find anyone that was on the same page as me, especially in Orange County. There's not a ton of those people, but it's a growing number. And so what actually made me run, I'm a nurse by trade. So I've been a nurse for about 10 years, mostly emergency room. And I've noticed a very similar pattern in my husband's work, in my own work. He's a CPA. He would notice that the larger the business he was working at, the worse the quality product was for the client. So in his situation, it was a financial audit. So you have these really high level partners that are selling a product that really the people who are producing the product are people who just got out of school, but the client is paying more money for really a worse product. But the name on, these large companies means a lot in society. And I feel like I've noticed the same thing in the hospital system. Is the larger the hospital system, the worse really the quality care is getting. And I don't think it's exact match, because you need a large hospital system to have a lot of resources in it. But that also means that the CEO, the CMO, the CNO level is very separate from the actual patient care. They've usually been out of the bedside for a very long time. So they're making decisions based on data that they have misapplied data analytics, is what he and I like to talk about. Is you have this disconnect where they're never at the bedside finding out what the process is or what the nurses need to be able to do a good job. And so you see this high burnout rate in nursing, because you don't go into nursing or being a doctor to, not give quality care. So it's actually a high burnout rate because you're running your tail off at work and you're doing the best you can, but you're still not doing the greatest job because there's not enough resources. And I think teachers have a lot of the same complaints. A lot of people in any kind of business right now are all short-staffed, and that deals with a lot of things in the economy. But the thing that really pushed me to run was when the vaccine mandates came out. Both of my parents are respiratory therapists, and they both had COVID before. They are the front line of the front line. They work with every single dying COVID patient. And for them to be told on the same day with two different hospital systems in my district, nonetheless, the systems are that they're going to lose their jobs if they don't take the shot. That was the point in which I felt like the federal government decisions were touching my family, and I couldn't hire a lawyer. I couldn't do anything about it. And my husband had just recently worked on the Georgia election with the Trump versus Raffensperger case in Georgia. Also got kind of thrown into politics and found about 100,000 votes that were either blatantly illegal, just based on Georgia law, or irregular enough that they should have been thrown out. And that court case was never heard in court because it was pushed to January 8th. And we all saw what happened on January 6th. So we've seen this blatant lack of truth on that subject. We're seeing a huge lack of truth related to the vaccine. And I think that, people are ready for transparency. They're ready for truth on both sides. And we just see this polarization in politics and disunity in our country, and it's all based on a lack of truth. And so I really ran based on the mandates that I felt like were touching my family. But overall, I think we have a blatant federal government overreach, and we have a really big problem with transparency and truth in our country.
Right. I mean, our motto here is transparency is for the government, privacy is for the citizen. Now that that's being turned on its head, and we know that that is the price of a stolen election, and we're living through it right now. So we definitely know that. So I want to put up this story. you and I spoke about just getting some facts in about this is your town, your territory right here. This is a terrible story that we've been watching here all weekend. Um, Lyric Woods and Devin Clark have, it looks like the Orange County Sheriff has reported that they have been murdered. These are two good friends. These are children. These are, we don't know what happened yet, but we know that you're in your district, your whole district is turned upside down from all of this. I mean, doesn't this just breaks your heart?
Yeah, the whole district, and I'm sure it's happening in the whole country, but I know the sheriff in Alamance County. I know of the sheriff in Orange County. I know he does really prioritize law and order in Orange County. We have a huge problem. You know, there's a lot of these areas that we think are really safe, but there's a lot of drug trafficking. There's a lot of sex trafficking that's happening right under our noses. And, you know, a lot of people, when I'm talking to constituents about their, you know, biggest issues, a lot of them is crime and really the border. And I think the things that are happening at the border are trickling in. I don't know if that's what affected what this situation is with these two young kids, but we know that it was obviously criminal activity and we don't know how they got involved in it, but we need to prioritize law and order for our children. And that's just not being done. We see this push away with district attorneys. A lot of times they're not prosecuting crime, or they're, you know, taking someone in, arresting them and letting them right back out. And we really need to, every single level of society wants law and order. It's really just this very loud voice in a small minority of the population that actually wants to say defund the police. But I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people, and they would say they're registered Democrat, that do not want to defund the police, and they want to see law and order.
Absolutely. And the insanity is that, Courtney, some of these very same people that are defund the police are doing it as it's applicable to school resource officers, while at the same time, this new Biden Title IX is about to go into effect, which means that bathrooms will be co-ed from now on. Now we're seeing it in Charlotte. We're seeing it in other places that these policies are already being instituted ahead of Biden's predicted change in the law. Now, you and I are talking about the schoolyard bully, which is exactly what Biden is saying, that if you don't K through 12 go along to get along with respect to letting boys play on your sports teams, letting boys into the bathroom, and pretty much all this other stuff, we're taking your lunch money. What are you going to do?
Yeah, it's disgusting. Well, it's just highly manipulative. Like, no one is going, we're all dependent on that money. The kids need the money. You can't defund school necessities and hold that over people. It's really, I say it's pushing a worldview. I use the word worldview a lot when talking to people. And my worldview would say that there is a God, he's in control. There's an ultimate right and wrong, and truth is not fluid. And I think that we're fighting really a narrative and a worldview that is completely opposite of those things, and that truth and right and wrong is a very fluid thought process. And when you have that, you have this really manipulation of any values that we've ever held dear. And when you see that, there's always repercussions of that. And yes, I'm sure that there's a lot of, you know, biological boys that say that they feel like they're a female, they feel like they're a girl, and they're not going to harm other girls. There's a lot of those people, but we know that there are a lot of transgender, what we would say biological boys, that are going to exploit females in the bathroom and in situations where they don't have protection. And there's going to be girls that are terrified to go to the bathroom, and they'll just hold it all day. And I know that there's girls who do that already. They're already scared to go in the bathroom just with other girls, and bullying problems. And so we really are not protecting our children by allowing this to happen in our schools.
Well, no, and we're also not protecting our children by allowing behaviors that we know are grooming. Now, we've been all but shut down off of the social media networks, yet to be named, because we're calling this out for what it is, but it actually is. You're not going to tell me that pictures of the gingerbread person and a cartoon character dressed up like a unicorn, presenting this to children in first grade, that isn't grooming, and telling them, hey, guess what? There's not a God. Mommy and daddy were wrong. God makes mistakes, and well, you might just be one of them. Now, what is that telling a child? That they might be a mistake, that their God might be making a mistake, and that their mom and dad are making a mistake. is that not a dystopian nightmare that the left wants for our children?
Well, it's disgusting, and it really is against the First Amendment rights of freedom to religion. They're just teaching another religion that's not called something. And I think we need to start naming it. We need to name it the anti-God religion or the atheist religion or whatever we want to call it. We need to call it a religion because that's what it is. It's fighting against what I would say I believe. And I think that there's a significant number of parents that believe exactly the way I do, and their children are not allowed to have a voice in their opinion. The parents aren't allowed to have an opinion. And then they're named something like a bigot or a racist or transphobic or homophobic just because they want their kids to learn math and science at school and not this gender theory.
Well, look, gay people are standing out against this. No grooming, no sensible gay person. Yep. Most all of them are absolutely mortified and would do anything and everything to protect their child. You know, we've had gay parents on the program, and one of them is a friend of mine named Danny. I love this guy. And he said, look, if anybody went into the bathroom stall that was a boy of my daughter's bathroom in her school, they would be using a handicapped stall for the rest of their lives. And Danny says it perfectly. Look, every father wants to protect their child. Every mother wants to protect their child. I mean, this is just common sense. Now, there are some parents that would like to sacrifice their child to the liberal orthodoxy that has become a civil religion. But most of them, in fact, I dare say all of them are not like that. And shame on the left for laying this at the feet of gay and transgender people. Shame on the left for doing that and saying, you don't like this idea? Well, you must be homophobic and transphobic. No, I'm sorry. We must have a brain, just like gay and trans people actually have, adults. And this is just wrong.
Well, we see where they're trying to label the LGBTQ community with this, almost like putting it on their feet and say like, well, you must just not like love them or like them if you don't agree with this. But like you said, that's not being pushed by the LGBTQ community. It's being pushed by, like you said, a small group of people. And it's interesting, even, I know it's a total off subject, but it's very similar. This thing that just happened in Martha's Vineyard, where they dropped a bunch of migrants into Martha's Vineyard. And those are the same people that would scream that we need to be inclusive and we need to help all these people. But then they're like, we don't have the resources to help these people. And it's the same thing. So it's like, those are the people in Martha's Vineyard are the people who are pushing these narratives. They're pushing this whole open border policy, but they don't want to be the ones to receive the people, but they want to be the ones shouting from the rooftops that it's, you know, someone else's, that they're protecting. I don't even know what they're doing because they're lying. They're just blatantly lying, saying that they want to protect these people, but they personally don't want to protect those people. They want someone else to do it. And so I think it's the same people that probably live in Martha's Vineyard that are pushing this narrative that we're talking about right now, but they're not affected by it because they just take their kids out of public schools and put them in private schools exactly the way they want them to be educated.
Yeah.
And it's this vicious cycle.
Yeah, bingo. I mean, a lot of the people that want to defund the police in schools either don't have children at all. In fact, most of them don't have children, or else they go to a different school, or to your point, they're in a private school, or they've already skedaddled, right? They're of age and they're already out of there. So let's look at the Biden proposed changes that schools, by the way, we've talked about this and we'll continue to do so. Schools like Charlotte-Mecklenburg, New Hanover County, they're already, in damn sure Orange County, they are already getting on with this, and they're already doing it. The definition of sex includes gender identity. That means, guess what? Bathrooms are co-ed. Showers are co-ed. I remember when I was in high school, I used to have PE or cheerleading practice for whatever reason during first period. And yeah, I mean, that was awesome because, you know, had the hair going back then, it was like the big hair and all that, and had to, you know, re-aquanet my hairdo, but we always took showers, right? Because you can't sweat profusely and then, you know, go whatever. Now, a boy, and I kid you not, could be, let's say on the bus ride to school, could identify as a boy and a very masculine one. And then just for the heck of it, identify as a girl when it comes time to hit the showers. That's literally what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's disgusting. I think I actually might have had PE first period as well. I knew it was early in the day, and I distinctly remember the class that I had to go to right after that. And you're always like, even if you cleaned up well, you're still kind of like sweating, and it's a terrible transition.
Exactly.
Yes. And you're just changing right in front of each other. And that's already, for a lot of girls, there's already so much judgmentalism and bullying and worrying about your weight in high school that we're going to now put it on top of them, that now there's going to be boys in the room. Like, it is just inconsiderate of women. And, God forbid it be on a girl's period day. Like, I'm just going to be obvious, state the obvious. Like, I'm sorry, if you're a biological male, you don't have a period and you're not going to understand how to deal with that. And girls who are actual girls who are dealing with that, especially at an early age where you don't know how to deal with it, and you're going to have boys in the room. It's insane what we're dealing with.
So let's talk about this, because this is the opposite side of the coin. So, and I tell my son this, he's 14. I'm like, look, what's going to happen when you are at the urinal and have your blah, 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 blah out, and a girl who feels like they're a boy at the time walks into the bathroom, a couple days later doesn't feel like a boy anymore, and then accuses you of sexual harassment? It's coming. I'm telling you, it is absolutely coming. And my son said, and I guess he's kind of right, he's like, damn, I don't want to go to a public bathroom anymore, because it could happen. It could absolutely happen. Look at the Christine Blasey Ford nonsense that happened. And then it would be a case of she said, he said, because they're not going to put cameras in the bathroom, Courtney. So do you see what we're setting up?
That is what we're setting up. And it's completely against the whole Me Too movement. Like, we are not helping women. Feminism is dead. Like, I don't know. I feel like I've heard so many people say that, but it is just so true. Like, the idea of fighting for women, the documentary, What is a Woman? And no person, that I call it my opposition, no person on my opposition will say that they'll say they're a feminist, but then they won't define a woman. And we're literally harming women by pushing all of these laws. And like you said, I do think that that's exactly where we're going, and that young men are going to have to fight these battles going forward forever and ever. Amen. But I don't know why we're in this type of society, this dystopian society. Are we going to defend those women, or are you just going to say that they're not women? And it's all very confusing. Yeah. It's like a circular conversation, even that kind of what you're talking about and pulling up on the screen now.
I would argue that it's not confusing. I would argue that the left is trying to confuse it, but remember, confusion and complexity favors those in power. Remember it, guys. Don't ever forget it, and do not let the left forget it. You need to tell them all the time. But look, what we're talking about is not hyperbole. Due process is going to be eliminated for male students accused of sexual harassment and sexual assault, male students, whatever. So no due process. Sally goes into the bathroom, sees Johnny's winky dink, and then all of a sudden says, I have been traumatized and harassed. And, Johnny says, well, I was just going to the bathroom, and there's no due process.
Right.
Okay. That is just, it's insane. So heckler's veto, professors toe the line and awake. So there's no heckler's veto. In other words, I'll tell you what a heckler's veto is. So in First Amendment law and jurisprudence, the heckler's veto means that even the guy who is sitting there and saying, I'm the lone voice, I'm against XYZ or whatever, that is called a heckler's veto. And that has always been allowed, right? But now heckler's vetoers are not protected at all. That's truly the left likes to say, oh, we like to prevent, tyranny of the majority. Well, how are you going to do that if you don't allow a heckler's veto?
No, the left likes democracy. So they actually like the majority, which we need to message all over the place, that they are for the majority. They are not for the minority. And anyone who identifies as being part of a minority should be a Republican. And I know I'm just saying, you and I've had lots of conversations like, do we support the Republicans all the time? No, I literally fight Republicans more than I fight Democrats these days. But in reality, we need to support a constitutional republic, and we need to support the minority. And that is not what the left is doing right now.
No. And as far as Republicans, look, Republicans are the only game in town when it comes to loudly opposing this nonsense. Your opponent will not condemn this. I've been waiting for someone to tell me one elected official that is a Democrat that voices their opposition to this movement. I have not. That doesn't mean they don't exist, you guys. Okay, I'm always open to be wrong, but I'm not hearing anybody.
Well, we have a push for power. So anyone who can get elected by just not voicing any opinions, That's the whole problem in politics right now. We have a money and power issue where people are going out there. We have a lot of career politicians. I'm running against a career politician. She talks in slogans. If there's not a slogan to fit the question, then she answers with a one-word answer. I've heard it multiple times, and it's just, she's not going to admit that, but she will support it legislatively, all of these things that we're talking about, because she wants to continue moving up the power chain. And I do think you're right that I think there are people who are registered Democrats who would blatantly oppose everything that we're talking about right now. They support a lot of the things that the Democrat Party stands on, but they would blatantly oppose this. But I'm not sure you're going to find a politician to verbalize that.
Oh, no, they would be persona non grata in the Democrat Party. And you know that, and I know that. It's very important. So look, this is a case that just came out as well. So the SCOTUS decided not to take up a case with Yeshiva University. Now, Yeshiva is an Orthodox Jewish university, which, you know, any straight-laced, real religious university is going to not allow this stuff. You can say what you will. It's just, that's not a surprise, right? By the way, try to go to a madrasas and find an LGBTQ club. I dare you. I dare you. I dare you to go to Gaza or any other place that's occupied with Arab leaders and just try holding hands with somebody of the same sex. Please don't do that. Anyway, so Yeshiva University, Orthodox Jewish institution, it was ruled SCOTUS wasn't going to take the case, which forced them to have this gay straight alliance on campus. And I believe, to their credit, they said, look, that's just not how we roll. And we don't condemn being gay. If you want to do it, go, you know, great, go to other places. But in the Torah, you are not able to find where that is allowed. And they, you know, only adhere to the Torah. And I think we're going to see more of that where, you know, nobody's going to have the right to have clubs, et cetera, if a minority is going to strong arm people.
Yeah, and I mean, it always boils down to money. It's just like what we started with. It's like, oh, well, if you're taking this money, well, now you have to comply with what we say. And it depends on who's in power at the time in the federal level as to what that means. If you take the money, this is what you're going to have to do. And really, my goal in running is to decrease the power of the federal government, to stop executive orders. It doesn't matter who's in charge. I don't want one person to be able to make and enforce law. And I think that's what we're seeing with all of this, adding a string onto any money that's already being provided. That would need to be voted on by the legislature to add that string on. But what we're seeing is the executive level right now is adding the strings onto what's already been voted on by the legislature.
Well, it's tyranny. That's what it is. It's using our money against us for tyrannical rule, and in a one world view, as you talked about, is that the worldview must be all the same. I mean, look, our organization is having a hard time getting our message out across social media platforms. Why? Because we are talking about the prevailing orthodoxy of the American body politic. You know it. I know it. Anyone with a brain knows it. This is common sense stuff. This is not this shouldn't be rather one policy or one political party or the other. This is common sense. What's happening here is this. I don't recognize my country. No one recognizes their country. 2 years ago, this wasn't going on. We need to remind everybody early, often, and always who brought this to our doorstep. It is the left, period. People that say, I don't take right or left, etc. Bull. That's not true. That's because they're trying to subvert taking responsibility, or they're too cowardly to put the responsibility right at the feet of the people who made it happen. That is the left. That is Biden. That is, all the Democrats that I see serving on the federal level, because they are in lockstep with this. That includes Joe Manchin. That includes Kristen Sinema, because in the pinch time, right? They're useless.
Vote with them.
Useless.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, anytime I show people, I had a Republican one time say to me, they said, oh, I guess I'm just a 1-issue voter. Like, I'm pro-life. I can't vote for abortion. I said, no, now you're a 2-issue voter. You're pro-life and you're no porn in schools. And they'll laugh at that because it's just true, because you will not find a Democrat politician that will say, no, you cannot have genderqueer in schools. You won't find it. And I would say all Republicans that I've talked to have said they do not approve of this stuff being in schools. And it is a complete separation and party at this point. It's similar to the abortion issue. You have a pro-life side and you have a pro-choice side, and people have to pick a side when that's their issue. But now we have two issues. Now we're showing pornography to kids in school, or we're saying there should be transgender bathrooms or transgender athletics. Like, it's a huge polarization difference.
Co-ed. So that means either there can be I want everyone to listen to this, because here is the way it is. This is the truth, unvarnished, right here. There can either be a co-ed team or pretty much a boys team. Why? You're just not going to see that same crossover, because girls aren't going to win and stand a fighting chance after the 5th grade. That's just what the common sense. You're going to see pretty much co-ed bathrooms, and it's going to lean one way. So in other words, girls have lost the right to have the label girls on the outside of their bathroom, on the outside of their locker room. That's what girls have lost the right. You know, I was sitting in a hotel lobby a few weeks ago. I took my daughter to a lacrosse tournament out of town, and there was about, 10 moms sitting there, and I was by myself, of course, because I guess I don't fit in, but I'll tell you why. The moms were talking about, actually a mom sat down with her wife. And one of the moms said, I am just so mad at what the Supreme Court did. This is terrible. By the way, did you guys adopt? And I said, for the love of God, are you all sitting here lamenting the decision of the Supreme Court when this gay couple got the opportunity to adopt 2 beautiful girls? I couldn't believe it. And then another mom said, I can't believe that I am going to have to tell my daughter now that they have less rights than they did when I was growing up. And I'm like, listen, Toots, I don't know what rock you're living under, but your girls don't have the right to play on a lacrosse team with only girls. Now, I know right now there are no boys, but you wait and see what happens when it comes to, I don't know, junior, senior high, when there needs to be scholarships meted out. So women don't have the same right. But I'm telling you, leftists don't understand that. Wow, most gay people understand that, wow, if we want to have a family, we get to adopt. That's great. That's why we're pro-life. And there are more and more coming out about that. But why is it that the women on the left don't seem to understand that we don't have the same rights at all as we did even 5 years ago?
Well, I think that I would say our side has done a really bad job with messaging, specifically on, like, when we're talking about the abortion issue with ectopic pregnancy. I'm sure you know, and I know, that ectopic pregnancy is a pregnancy that is a non-viable pregnancy. It means that the sperm, the egg have come together. We have you could call it a fetus, you can call it a baby, whatever you want to call it. We have a life.
It's an emergency is what it is for the woman.
Right. We have a pregnancy, but we have an emergent pregnancy that cannot live inside the mom. And so the mom is going to die and the baby is going to die with an ectopic pregnancy. So most of the time we hear this messaging of, you don't care about the mom's life. There's so many women that die in pregnancy. Well, if they're dying, it's probably related to ectopic pregnancy, and no pro-life agency, no pro-life politician will say that they don't want to have ectopic pregnancy. So what I have found in running is that when I explain that to people as a nurse, a lot of them go, they appreciate that I've thought through what most people, there is the whole rape incest argument, but I hear it mostly about the woman's life. And usually if I explain, hey, pretty much the only early term pregnancy problem is an ectopic pregnancy. And yes, it is a medical abortion, but it's not an abortion in any sense of the way that we discuss pro-choice or pro-life. No pro-life agency is going to stop moms from getting a surgery for an ectopic pregnancy because it's a non-viable pregnancy. And most people don't know that, but the left uses that. They just don't explain it. And they say that we just don't care about the woman's life too, but we do.
Well, complexity, right? Complexity and expertise, it favors those in power, right? Mm-hmm. And so what people don't understand is that you're able to break that down, as we all need to do. So as far as the, Biden Title IX stuff, we're in violent agreement on that, right? And again, you and I both cannot find a leftist who will speak out against that. I wonder, though, if a lot of them are going to be voting against that, even though they're not willing to admit that.
I think there's going to be a lot of people voting differently than they would ever tell their friend that they're going to vote this year. Everyone's noticing it in their pocket. Prices are double for most things. And people who are of low income, they are struggling. And the idea, I mean, if people really realize that the Democrat Party is trying to stop people from having a gas vehicle within like 20 or 30 years, I think it might even be less than that their goals are. That is not feasible for lower income people unless we decide to donate electric vehicles to all of America, which obviously we're in a completely communist state with full federal control if we're at that point, because then we're in inflation at the point that the dollar means nothing. So that's really the option. They're not going to incentivize this.
No, I mean, they want everyone taking a bus or a train or a, something like that. That's what they want. They want the high-speed rails, et cetera. And then they want only the elite are able to afford these, cars. And, then we see that kind of attitude, et cetera. So it's less freedom for all of us. And it's a lot more freedom and power concentrated in the hands of the very few. So I want you to tell everyone where they can donate, because you need help. I want you to tell everybody where to go to volunteer. We need help. We need boots on the ground, and we need money, baby.
Yes, I love this. And we have probably a majority North Carolina audience. So you guys are either close or you're in my district. And so just to clarify, my district is Alamance, Orange, Durham, Person, and Granville County. And it's North Carolina District 4. And you can find me at CourtneyGeelsForCongress.com. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, Getter, and Twitter. As much as they love to silence us, I am on there. So you can find me and contact me those ways. Yes, I love lots of volunteers. We have a goal of covering every polling location so we can make sure we get literature in every voter's hand. So we need lots of volunteers. So go to my website, CourtneyGeelsForCongress.com, and volunteer. And if you can't volunteer, please donate. We need to get the message out to send a nurse, not another career politician.
Amen. And it's GEELS, guys, GEELS. We're going to keep you updated with Courtney's campaign. We have, obviously, we're smart around here. I mean, we endorsed you, duh. I mean, you're the best. You're the best thing to happen in that district in a very long time. I used to live in that district, so I know a thing or two. All right. Well, thank you very much, Courtney, and everybody. You need to go ahead and donate, and you need to donate a couple of days between now and the election, and maybe a couple of days during early voting. Let's get it done.
Thank you.
All right.